Hey everyone, and welcome to Backseat Sports. I'm Josh, that's Caleb, and today we got football, baby. It's back, and so today we're talking not only Nebraska's spicy 2024 recruiting and in the possibly maybe one of the biggest days in Nebraska football recruiting history this weekend, and then we'll also be breaking down the spring news and updates now that spring practice is in full swing, under now a month away from the spring games, and some really interesting comments from both Satterfield and Rhule about this team, and so we have a lot to talk about. Caleb, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Again, super excited to hear the practices for the rubber to kind of start hitting the road with these coaches. They're all excited. We're excited. And yes, that recruiting day, which is just madness. You've all seen the lists of all the names of players, I'm sure. Man, to land even a handful of those guys would be something else. So, yeah, let's dive into it. And, it was really interesting. Both Rhule and Satterfield kind of both highlighted the tight ends, which was they wanted, 13 personnel was something they talked about a lot. Obviously, last year, we ran a lot of big tight end sets because our offensive line was a little bit lacking, and Josh and I would joke multiple times that our tight ends are our best offensive linemen. So it does make a lot of sense to me that they probably saw similar stuff, and they also want to do that. Obviously, Iowa a lot of times ran like fullbacks,
right?
But they were actually tight ends.
It's basically both of them just mentioned 13 personnel, so which is just running three tight ends in different ways. And like you said, both of them mentioned using tight ends in like wing back type roles as like hybrid fullbacks or like even handing the ball off to them. And so there was a handful of position changes as well for some of the other guys to potentially find more tight ends. So they're really committed to this idea of going that route. But yeah, like you said, it really embraces kind of that Big Ten, like Iowa and Minnesota mentality of just running the ball and using big bodies. And it's interesting to hear Rhule and Satterfield talk that direction, considering both of their histories.
Yeah, it's definitely new, but again, I like them embracing those Big Ten changes. Matt Rhule said that he's limiting Fadone's reps. Obviously, that means that they think he's pretty special. But like he said, we just got to get him to the season, and that's awesome. Makes a lot of sense.
Husker fans are wanting it too. Please.
Yeah. And that's a lot different than Frost, who was like saw Fadone do limited reps, and they're like, why the heck aren't you out there? You need to be doing full reps. If Fadone's like, I'm not even cleared to be healthy yet. So obviously that's just a big difference. So again, glad we obviously want all those bodies healthy and them being aware of those situations. And again, that's good stuff that we all need to see. The other big talk of the town has been running backs.
Yeah, dude.
And kind of who's been standing out. It's definitely changed and shifted. Obviously, Anthony Grant, our leading rusher last year, was for a time kicked off the team. It was suspended from the team just for academic reasons, nothing personal. He's just now entering back in the team. And, that's great to see the coach with, again, high accountability, not just saying that, but also, doing that to give steps, be like, hey, until you get this fixed, you can't be on the field. So that's good to hear. And he kind of highlighted a few different guys, but Gabe Irving was the one they used as like the finishing back.
He had a lot to say about Gabe too, which is, interesting. Yeah. And again, comparing that to Frost, if he mentioned a player was like, the guy's, he's doing well, he's a good guy. Like he just never said anything, and so it's nice to hear him at least talk a little bit. And he said Gabe Irvin's like one of the fastest guys in the team at like 220. So
good to hear.
Yeah, removed from the injury now. That's good to hear for Gabe too. And so interesting to say the least. I know I'm a little bit more hesitant to believe that he's going to be like an every down type of guy. But maybe another year removed from the injury is what he needs. And then that could end up being, and a new change of coaching staff could be what he like needed. It's possible. For sure. And he basically said he's going to be the battering ram to finish out those games in that third and fourth quarter, which is interesting. Do you actually think we're going to stick to that? Like, where are you at with that? Like, do you think it's the right way to go?
Just after the injury, we didn't see as much of him. Obviously, we saw a lot of Anthony Grant and AJ Allen last season just because of the injury. But again, exciting to see that if he could be back, and then we could really have three really solid running backs. And he also mentioned Ramir Johnson, too. We said he had a lot of flash on the film, again, which makes sense. Obviously, we have the bad taste from the drop that he had.
What I thought was funny, though, when he said that, he specifically mentioned, I went back and watched his last 2 years. Because last year's film was not much to show for Rahmir.
No. No, he made that tweet and then was actually put in the doghouse. You know, it's tough. I mean, I get it. Like, we do have a lot of running back talent.
I mean, he briefly mentioned A.J. Allen, but obviously because of the injury, you know, there's not too much to say there yet. So it's just hard to say when you don't have all the bodies there, but it's interesting. I mean, it's very likely then we'll just have a very involved 3 deep backfield with Irvin, AJ Allen, and Anthony Grant probably.
Yeah, and then maybe Rahmir Johnson on some passing downs. 1 through 4, like if somebody goes down, you can trust a lot of those guys to do good things with the football. And that's nice. It's a good spot to be in. And the quarterbacks too, I thought it was interesting that really nobody's getting too many more reps. They kind of wanted to start it off the practices as everybody getting equal reps, is what Satterfield said. And Satterfield said that's how Rhule wanted it. So again, they're just trying to see as much as they can. Rhule said too, they're just going back and watching the practices and the reps over, like in film. They're going over and rewatching everything. Great to hear again.
Yeah, man. Rhule was hyped about the quarterbacks.
He was.
He literally said it's the most talented QB room he's ever had. I'm like, well, I mean, to be fair, you know, the bar was low better than Carolina.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield may be a great college QB, but you know, that's not very good.
Right, same thing. Oh, it's so tough out there. But yeah, I mean, it was obviously he was probably talking about college, but still,
yes.
I mean, it's still pretty high praise considering, you know, Casey Thompson's not there yet. Logan Smothers isn't practicing, and so yeah, I mean, a very limited room right now out of the quarterback. So it's interesting to hear him talk about that with the high praise. I mean, does that make sense to you that they're doing evenly? Are you at all worried that Jeff Sims doesn't garner immediate?
I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, they said within 10 reps of each other, so probably Sims is still getting like a little bit more reps.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's this early in the season where, again, this first, you know, when you're coaching, you want to give everybody like a nice tryout session to be like, who has it, who doesn't. And then, you know, doing this, they might find some surprises again when you're trying to pick second, third, fourth guys in the depth chart. This is probably really helpful for them, just so they can be like, well, this guy has more talent. And then with film session and seeing which guys know more towards the end, I think this helps just denote who you're going to pick. Because again, when you have a big team like this, those are hard decisions. And I think it's nice because hopefully at least in their mind, they can have like a rough outline of, okay, just talent wise, this is this. And then as it goes on, okay, well, actually, you know, when the full speed, it looks like this. So
for sure,
I think it's just smart at trying to shake out this whole team, which you're evaluating all new guys.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's just a whole new
Rhule does a
you.
really good job of kind of creating that vision in the long term and uniting. So I mean, you can definitely see he's a good manager of people and definitely a good people's person. And again, when he's up on the podium there for the press conferences, I mean, he's really believable and he comes off as very honest. And he, like, even in this presser, he was like, I would tell you if the guy sucked, you know, like, I mean, okay, he's like, I'm sure you would.
He's like, you know, we want to be good. They want to be good. And then he goes, are we going to be good? I don't know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was a hilarious
there's
quote.
You know, there's some nice, honest moments there, which is always nice. I mean, especially a breath of fresh air from Scott, who, I mean, goodness, impossible to get him to say anything. 5
years of under 500.
Right.
Like him trying to find different ways to explain why we lost. I mean, that gets tough at some point, you know?
Yeah, exactly. There's only so many ways you can say you're a bad coach, you know, just tough out there. But so I mean, at this point, I mean, there's just a total of 15 practices that culminate with the red-white spring game on April 22nd, which is going to be on Big Ten Network. So obviously, we're going to be talking more about the spring practices in an upcoming video and really dive into some of the players we want to see kind of develop here in the spring. But yeah, with that said, I think we want to talk about now recruiting and this insane 2024 recruiting extravaganza going on right now in Nebraska. Possibly the biggest weekend, like I said, in like Nebraska history when it comes to recruiting. A wild start to Rhule's reign in Nebraska.
Fun little thing too. We've already offered 3 8th graders for football as well. Just a fun little side note.
Yeah,
for the
madness. They're getting crazy out there.
Yeah, again, I know that their guys really like watching film, but that's a lot. Like watching 8th grade Pee Wee football. Like going out there and picking out guys.
Are they putting up huddle highlights of their 8th grade football seasons, or what's going on? How are we finding these guys?
I mean, I guess they gotta be plugged in to be like, they're like, dude, this guy's next level. I mean, I get it.
Yo, like my 8th grade football snaps would have been, those are elite, man. Let me tell you. I can't believe
highlights. The highlights are nuts.
I mean, I was a right guard, man. I can't believe that they didn't put me out there. Why were my offers?
You can't believe you weren't getting offers?
Yeah.
I think you always know, like, there's always like 6'5" 8th grader that's dominating.
Right.
Maybe those guys are like, oh, well, that dude doesn't look like an 8th grader. So maybe those guys, if they're just a foot and a half taller than everyone else.
I don't know if I can get behind these 8th grade offers because, like you said, puberty is quite the advantage in 8th grade. But,
no, yes.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Anyway, huge weekend for Nebraska. Multiple 5 stars, depending on what site you looked at. It was at least 2, up to 4. And so between 5 on 24/7, it would have been 2 5 stars and 13 4 stars visited this weekend. Insane weekend. And so,
yes,
I mean, think about that. Nebraska's only signed 2 5 stars in modern recruiting history for Nebraska,
and only one that wasn't not a transfer actually got him from high school.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So Marlon Lucky. So I mean, it's insane. So up to 4 5 stars this weekend. Then, of course, highlighted by Dylan Raiola, the #1 recruit in the class of 2024, the quarterback, yada, yada, yada.
Not sure if you heard of him.
Yeah, I heard of him. I mean, we were literally talking before the video. It was like, is Dylan Raiola on a popularity rating of even Casey Thompson? Dylan Raiola at this point might be just as known. Even Jeff Sims, who's at least on the team at this point, Dylan Raiola is probably more known than Jeff Sims. It's insane. But yeah, so even if us landing even one of these 4 stars or 5 stars would be insane. And even recently, Nebraska got the first official commitment for the 2024 class, which was Roger Gradney, from a 4-star receiver from Texas, ranked 295th on 24/7. So a really great get here for Nebraska to kick it off at the end of February.
And a great Texas guy to start that Texas train that Rhule wants to start. So yeah, just great. Also, the other 5-star is Ryan Wingo from Santa Ana. And then we also have Brandon Baker, again, another one of those guys that's highlighted from Mater Day High School. Yeah, and again, Mater Day, they're a pipeline for just great talent. So that's just one of the best high school programs you can get into. So yeah, it's crazy. Oh, man.
So the 4-star running back, Nate Frazier, he's ranked 102nd on 24/7. There's been a lot of interest now from him about Nebraska. So there's already a pretty strong connection here, and a guy who I think a lot of experts will probably pick us to have a high chance to land. And he said he felt like he was a big priority for Nebraska. And so he wants to make Nebraska a priority too. And he said he talked to the first commitment, Roger Gradney, quite a bit about why Gradney chose Nebraska. And then he's like, I don't even know why I asked him, because I knew why he chose Nebraska. And I'm like, ooh, those are some flirtatious words from Nate Frazier here. That's what we like to see. So yeah, I mean, a lot of really positive news coming from this weekend. With, if you saw all the pictures of the boombox, Nebraska boombox. I mean,
dude, just the one of Trev Alberts just awkwardly holding it. It's fantastic.
I'm here for it.
I can't wait to just put hilarious captions on that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm liking this boombox.
In the comments below, I want to see the best captions for this Trev Alberts boombox. What do you got?
Drop the memes. I want to see them. So yeah, I mean, that basically brings us to the juice of the video here. Dylan Raiola.
Yes.
And I think at this point we need to talk about what are the actual odds. I mean, are we getting way ahead of ourselves, or is this actually going to be a thing? And the timeline for what it could look like for Raiola's commitment. Because once that happens, I mean, if he was to commit, the landslide could be insane. I mean, that would be the snowball down the hill. If he commits, then suddenly you'd be on high alert for multiple other 5 stars and a mini 4 stars.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the impact on it would be massive for Nebraska getting one of the best quarterback recruits. I'm sure that will just automatically bump our class.
If you go back and look at the past top 1 or 2 quarterbacks in every single class, I mean, the hit rate on them is high.
There's more that turned out great than didn't.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, when the worst players are Spencer Rattler, that's the worst case scenario. Spencer Rattler, like in 2019, or like in 2020, I think it was like Bryce Young and CJ Stroud and DJ Ugalale as a top 3. And then like in 2021, it was like Caleb Williams and Quinn Ewers. Like, oh no, terrible. So, I mean, that's why people are losing their minds about Dylan Raiola, because the hit rate on these top quarterbacks has been amazing recently.
And we've never like had a shot at this.
No,
like
even like a slight before. Shot. So this is why it's going to be absolutely insane. And if he commits, I mean, geez, you know, just book us in the national championship already. At that point, the Kool-Aid would be off the charts.
It would be
insane.
It'll be interesting once like the official visit happens. I'm sure there's good messages. Like obviously Sims came here, Casey came here, but the problem is Dylan's not worried about getting like paid and the money and stuff. Like that's going to come for him. Obviously he's got huge aspirations too of the NFL and as one of the top guys. I'm not sure which way I lean at this point. It just really comes down to, I think, how much does playing at Nebraska, the place where his dad played, matter? How successful we're going to be next season. I think both of those things play heavily into it. We have to, like if Matt Rhule, they said that the message to Dylan was that, you know, we're going to win, come win with us, come put Nebraska back on the map. Is that enough compared to like Georgia, who's won back-to-back national championships, or Lincoln Riley, who's had 3 Heisman winners?
Right. So I mean, I think that's what we need to go through each team and the options that Dylan currently has and break those down a little bit here. So basically at this point, it looks like it's down to 3, maybe 4 options. And essentially it's Georgia, USC, Oregon, and Nebraska. And many would have it right now. The odds are kind of all over the place. A lot of people are favoring USC. But obviously there's a lot going on there. Like you said, Georgia, I mean, come on. They've been dominant. And they have openings at quarterbacks. All 3 quarterbacks on their roster currently don't have any starts. So there's no experience there. So he would be able to step in probably in 2024. Whoever ended up winning the job this season, it would probably lose out to Dylan Raiola as a true freshman. So starting true freshman for Georgia is pretty tempting. And then, of course, like you said, I mean, USC, I mean, the resume speaks for itself. It's insane what Lincoln Riley's done at quarterback with, Baker and Kyler and Caleb Williams and Jalen Hurts. I mean, my goodness.
Yes. All those guys got NFL starts for, a few years.
Right. I mean, it literally, it's like, these are like the sexiest 2 picks you could possibly have, Georgia and USC. And then there's freaking Nebraska, like from like the national perspective. Yeah. Just hanging around, So in your opinion, what would be the X factor for Dylan Raiola to choose Nebraska over Georgia and USC? What are the things there? And what are the actual odds of that happening?
Yeah, it's tough. Again, just on paper, looking at Nebraska, as much as we love it, like in comparison, it's hard with like, again, we understand the flash. We also hear that, he's talking to Lincoln Riley most days, which again, I understand why. Georgia and USC are going to get really good quarterbacks for the next few years. Not that you don't believe in yourself or think that you're going to be good, but like we've even seen it with like Quinn Ewers. Like that dude was the #1 recruit. And then all of a sudden, Manning's going there or whatnot. And so like he has to find a new school. So it's like,
well, yeah. Well, then with Ewers, it was the whole thing because he went to Ohio State and then lost the job to CJ Stroud. And then he's like, well, I'm going to go to Texas. And then now Arch Manning's there.
And you just don't want a situation like that, I guess. I mean, I don't know if that's not enough to deter, but like,
is that in the back of his mind though,
But yeah, like Lincoln Riley's going to get great QB recruits for the next 4 seasons.
To Lincoln Riley, at the end of the day, you're just another guy, even no matter how good you are, because he's going to recruit the #1 quarterback next year and the following year and the following year.
Yeah.
So
he can sweet talk you all he wants, but he's always looking to what's next.
I agree with you though. I mean, obviously the facilities, this is an X factor for all 2024 recruiting, is that the new facility opens up next year. So every player is getting probably just told constantly this new facility's coming. But like you said, obviously his dad, Dominic, Nebraska legend. And like you said, I mean, the connection, I think, with Matt Rhule seems pretty organic and real right now. And I do wonder if the faith comes into play too. And, as a Christian, like the connection there probably could also be an X factor. I'm not sure about where, Georgia, and USC are at with Lincoln Riley or whatever. But at least that seems like an organic connection with Matt Rhule. And then, of course, the history 100%. Of Nebraska is obviously there. So all of those things combined would definitely come into play.
I'm sure, like, as a fan of this place, like, you want it to do well. And I think that he does, in some ways, have a lot of power to reshape this program in some ways. Mm-hmm. And, maybe that's a draw, like, if you really, care about this place and, want to see it, like, to continue to succeed and, prop the program up like his dad did. I mean, that's a big draw. And again, obviously, I don't think you'll be like, you won't be loved in USC or in Oregon or Georgia like you would Nebraska.
Right. Like, not to mention the bar that's set, like, you have to win a national championship those places to even, like, really be remembered.
And like
here, if you win a Big Ten championship, oh my, you will be.
We haven't done that in like 20 years.
You would name stadiums after you.
We should have been. We should have won. We all know.
No, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think, like you said, also it is interesting because again, he decommitted from Ohio State. I mean, we had no chance with Frost at Dylan Raiola. Then he decommits once Rhule comes, and so there at least is some sort of like organic feeling there with Rhule.
He wanted to come to Nebraska in some ways, and so and then the switch that made the decommit. So maybe that does. Yeah, and so maybe that does favor Nebraska. Again, like we do have a lot of attractiveness. We've obviously still sent guys to the NFL. Right. Like even like in the
Dylan committed to Ohio State over Georgia and USC originally.
Maybe it really is just this Nebraska this whole time, and he's got to give the other guys a fair look and shake.
When it comes to timeline, so the only thing here is that he did just schedule his official visit to Georgia. So there is a difference here between official and unofficial visits. If you want to explain.
Yep. Oh, yes. So unofficial, you do it on your own dime, essentially. So you're paying for the lodging, the food. Schools can pay your ticket to a sporting event. So like when he came for like the basketball game, we could get him a ticket, and also, the baseball game. That's fine. But yeah, none of the other stuff. Where like when you heard with Texas, with Arch Manning, where they spent $1 bazillion because that was Arch Manning's official visit. So they could pull out all the bells and whistles and stops, and that could be done. So that's where Dylan is going to get kind of that bigger treatment at Georgia, where they're going to, pay for his
pull out
his
the red carpet,
his travel, his food. Exactly. Try to wine and dine him as much as they can.
Yes.
At the official visit.
So that's happening on June 1st or the first week of June. So this is going to go on for a while here. I mean, that's still 2.5 months away, or 2 months away, essentially. So we are in this for the long haul with Dylan Raiola, and we're probably not going to have a decision until middle of June, late June, July. I mean, it's going to be a little bit before this decision comes through.
It could be football season.
Yeah, exactly. And, who knows? Maybe he stretches it all the way out till signing days and makes it this massive thing. I mean, it's possible. And
I definitely could see that. I could really see that being the case.
Yeah.
So.
And so, buckle in. If you had to put a percent chance on it right now, what is your percent chance?
I'm going to go like 42. A 42% chance.
Okay. I was going to be in a similar zone. I was hoping you were going to go above 50 because I didn't want it to be the less optimistic one.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually a little bit more optimistic than you, though, which is interesting.
Heck yeah.
I'm going to go 47%.
Nice.
Which again, if I had to bet who the lead is right now, I would pick us as the favorite.
Yeah, I would too.
A 42% chance is decent, but when there's three other options,
Yeah, I'll take those odds.
Yeah.
Again. So I mean, I do think it's good for the program even to get these types of recruits and have these type of days.
I mean, literally, think about
I think that's good to mention too. Like just the fact that like we're attracting this hype of a quarterback buzz and we're making it as much of a news media thing as it is.
Yeah.
Again, it's just putting Nebraska, even just on the recruiting, a little bit on the map. And again, obviously the commit would do wonders for the program, as everybody says. I mean, just a whole lot of levels.
Right. I mean, think about that. Just Dylan Raiola's interest alone gave us the most insane recruiting weekend we've ever had. So it's like, imagine what a commitment would do. So without further ado, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Drop your comments down below, hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload, and drop your comment with your odds And you can call it right now.
What percent chance?
What chances does Raiola have coming here? And we'll talk to you guys very soon with another video heading into the spring game. As always, guys, I'm Josh. That's Caleb. This is Maxi Sports. And we'll see you next time. Go Big Red.